Global FM, your number one source for R&B in the Bahamas. Yeah.
Global 99.5 FM reminds our listeners that the views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the
Today can be the turning point in your life by making a simple decision.
Fundamental questions of navigation. Where am I? Where am I going? And how do I get there from here?
I invite the leaders of our planet to ask themselves these three questions before they make any crucial decisions.
But if you don't make decisions, you're going to stay right where you are.
We are all map makers.
We are in a time of transition.
If we're going to change, we have to change the direction that we're going.
Our planet needs leaders who know where they want to go.
When we change the direction we're going, then we want to make sure we're going in the right direction.
Leaders who can see the big picture.
Because if we're not, we're going to either go backwards or we're going to stay where we are.
Recognizing the psychological and the spiritual shifts and changes that need to be made, often from the inside to the outside.
To be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm.
Complex journeys require navigation. The path to the truth is one such journey. This is your GPS. Hairstyling services provided by J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Madera Street. Accessories provided by Chevette Williamson Jewelry. Standout jewelry for standout women.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. I am your host, Michelle Malcolm, and as always, it's a pleasure to be in your company today. Thank you so much for tuning in and making GPS a part of your afternoon routine. Today, we're going to be talking about the budget communication, an overview of what has been presented thus far, what it means for you and I as it relates to our everyday life and our economy and the future of the Bahamas, and whether or not you feel that this budget communication is one that is worth the paper it's written on, or if you're all excited about the future direction of the Bahamas. Let's talk about it. The telephone numbers to call are 3260271. Just trying to pull up my graphic here. There it is. 3260271, 3260272, 3260272. The WhatsApp line for text messages and calls is 8010271. 8010271. We are streaming live on Facebook on the official Michelle Malcolm and Global 99.5 FM pages. You can also check us out on YouTube on our official channels. And you can download the Global 99.5 FM app. Check us out there. Or if you are a Cable Bahamas subscriber, you can catch us on channel 974. Okay? That's how you get in. Obviously, we are broadcasting on radio as well. Here in New Providence, it's 99.5 FM on your dial, Global Radio. And, of course, a huge welcome to our audience listening in by radio all the way from Grand Bahama. Welcome to the show. So today's show is sort of going to be all over the place in terms of a direction, because we're going to be looking at various aspects of the budget communication. So that means we will hear from the Prime Minister. We will hear from other ministers as well about various aspects of the budget debate and what it actually means for us. And I am going to add to the stream now our guest for today, in the person of C. Alan Johnson, who's going to help us to break this down and dissect the budget for whatever it's worth. C. Alan, welcome back to GPS.
Thank you once again, Michelle, and good afternoon to the wider Bahamas.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. We just sitting on pins and needles, waiting for a vision for Grand Bahama from anyone. Somebody, please.
I take it to that means that you're pretty much not impressed by what you've heard presented in the budget for Grand Bahama.
No, actually, no. And just for a pretext, to rebuild Grand Bahama requires more than the budget has designated for the entire Bahamas.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's dive into it. As I would have started to say, that this show is sort of going to be all over the place because we're just not looking at one aspect of the budget communication, but the budget communication, in terms of what the Prime Minister had to say, what other ministers of government had to say, what the opposition had to say as to whether or not they are at all pleased or impressed with this budget communication. Now, I know that the hot story today, well, there are many hot stories. The big hot story today is obviously a continuation of the discussion with regard to the immigration and Minister of Immigration and, we ain't going there today specifically, okay?
Yeah.
So
yeah, unless we're gonna raise the price, we'll be selling citizenship for the balanced budget.
You need to stop being so trapsy,
So, at $1 million each, we only need 1,000 of them, or a couple of hundred, to hit that, cover that deficit, or 1,000 of them will give us $1 billion right there, bam.
Well,
and we can have them move. Hey, and we can have them move to Grand Bahama. Those 1,000 people who can afford to pay $1 million for citizenship, they can move to Grand Bahama. We got room.
Your price too high, man. Other people price ain't as high as yours.
Yeah, but they won't get what they get on Grand Bahama. See, what those other places is, they get golden passports. On Grand Bahama, you can have a passport in the top 10 or 20. You have a geolocation infrastructure. You can't match our passport. Those people are selling. They're like mom and pop stores on the corner. Like they say, they like the dollar breakfast they sell for $5, and we the real restaurant.
See, Alan, you're just so wrong. You are so wrong. But anyway, love you still.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to begin with an overview. And I'm going to play a clip from the Prime Minister as he was wrapping up the debate and some of, I guess, what he considered to be the highlights of this budget communication. And then let's break it down and see what we all think and whether or not this is giving us any kind of comfort. Obviously, I'm coming from home again today, so let me apologize at the outset if you hear any background noise that you wouldn't normally hear when I'm in the studio. That's why. Okay, so let's begin with the PM highlights from his wrapping up of the debate. Here's what he had to say.
Are investing in learning recovery and in our students and our teachers. We are investing in our artists and our athletes. And we are investing in Bahamian entrepreneurs because investing in our people and giving Bahamians the skills and resources to thrive in a 21st century economy is at the heart of economic security. We are investing in our defense force with new vessels, new recruits, new training opportunities, and strengthened partnerships. Because, Madam Speaker, national security requires border security. We are investing in a new National Youth Guard, providing young Bahamians not just training for future careers, but the opportunity to fortify our nation's emergency response efforts. As hurricanes grow more intense, strengthening our national capacity to protect our people and respond in a crisis is a key element of our national security. We are investing in anti-crime and anti-violence initiatives, saturation patrols, and anti-gang resources in schools. We are investing in urban renewal, the Second Chance program, and in street lighting.
See, Alan, that all sounds really, 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 really good. So why are you not more excited over this budget?
It's an expression says, a promise is a comfort to a fool. That promise has to meet two requirements. It says that they're calling you a fool if the person making the promise possesses neither the ability nor the intent. I put to you that the Prime Minister does possess the intent. The capability he's lacking based on the fiscal constraints that we find our economy in. You could dress up what your intent is. I intend to pay my 100% of my light bill at the end of this month. Chances are I'll just pay the past due amount. I intend to pay my cable bill, all of it. But my finances just don't allow me to do that. And so Woody says, for instance, the 21st century environment that the government described, it's not this government, it's governments going back to 1968 when Sir Lyndon Pinlin first launched the digital technology department in the government, and we are still yet to be able to manage to issue PDF documents after spending billions of dollars on technology. And so the question is that when you start talking about the 21st century Bahamas, do we have the legislation, policies, processes, programs, and procedures? And I say to you that as of today, they don't exist. They could come into existence, because they have time starting on when they get back in July to begin to bring legislation to bring them in. I did not see those legislation that accompanied the budget. You had a number of legislation come. None of those came with it. Did we bring the legislation for what is to enable the green economy, the blue economy, the orange economy, the aquamarine economy, the climate economy, the digital economy, the data economy, all of these things, the orange economy, all these things we talk about, do we have the legislation that allows them to actually function? And I say, no, we don't. We may have laws that seemingly talk to them, but they don't. We have data laws that mentions data, but in the context of what data is, it does not address the management of and protection of data. And so we could pretend, if we don't make some changes in the matter of, I would say, the anniversary of the Progressive Liberal Party in office, we could find ourselves in a really constrained position. If you look at the fact that, look at the education system, 55% of our graduates have not finished high school based on that survey. You look at the fact that even though the unemployment is down 10%, the workforce has also shrank. And so the workforce should have been growing if you look at the perspective of when that's done. In fact, our workforce should have grown by another 5,000 just in the last month. And so the question then is, where's these workforce that we had 220,000 or more even pre-COVID, 2019 when it's last done? Okay, let's add the graduation of 2019, the graduation of 2020, the graduation of 2021, the graduation of 2022, graduation of 2023. Where are these individuals that is missing from the workforce? Where are those individuals who was laid off during the COVID epidemic? They can't be found. And the problem is that, yes, we use the international standards for unemployment, but what we have to do, we can't deny the fact that we have to discourage worker that is not counted in that statistics. And what
some people may have started their own business after going through.
Then we should have seen that growth in the business licensing. We don't. That's what I'm saying to you. There's always a balance somewhere, because even if they have started their own business, they are considered self-employed, and so those numbers would also bring that into fruition. In fact, if they start their businesses, most people have even just at least one individuals to have it. In fact, I say to you, it's harder for people to start businesses because you have to have customers that can buy your product or your service. And the problem is that for at least 2 years, going back from 2019, from Dorian up to now, we have not had the economic influx of capital that we have to circulate. We don't produce anything in the purest sense. We actually we are service in this service-based economy, and so
Well,
essentially,
with regard to that, C. Allen, I know of a couple people, right? And I'm not saying that this handful of people that I know of is reflective of the entire pool of persons who were employed who are now not seeking employment again. But I do know of a handful of people who found themselves in a precarious position, um, especially those who would have been working in the hotel sector. Um, when we, had the pandemic and everything shut down, what they ended up doing was they ended up reinventing themselves. So, a service that they had been already providing, say for the hotel, they then turned around and turned that into a business and started providing that as a service outside of the hotel arena, and found that they were making more money doing that than working for the hotel. So they just never went back. I
okay.
know a couple of people that
No,
applies.
you know what I'm saying? Let's put 10,000 of them doing that. My
Mhm.
point to you is we don't print money. So we cycle money within the economy. If there's no money coming in and I start a food place, then that must mean that I must have taken money from someplace else and move it over to my column. We need new money coming into the economy. Other than that, we just begin to cannibalize things. And this is where, when you begin to hear the Access Accelerator and these other programs and these other type of programs you have started up for business, they're only churning within the local economy. When we're required for our GDP, we require new money to inflow. We have not adopted digital models like digital entrepreneurs that allows them to export their whatever it is, their services, their products or whatever, and bring new money into the economy and hope that it cycles a number of times. And so the fact is that if you look at the central bank and the fact that we had to borrow US currency just to pay our bills during the pandemic type era, that means that we didn't hit our benchmark of foreign currency coming into the market for us to do. So every time you start a new restaurant, it takes away from another restaurant unless you actually have an influx of monies. And this is the problem is that we have is that even though our GDP has grown almost every year since 1973, the problem is the GDP hasn't grown to the benefits of Bahamians. And that is the problem with our budget. Our budget taxes Bahamians, which becomes harder and harder because they're making less and less, even though the growth of the economy is accelerating, which is the business class, which the government does not tax beyond including in that business license fee, because we somehow refuse to adopt a principle of income tax, and that's for not just for businesses, that's for businesses and people. And for those of you who make under 30,000, we ain't talking about you, because you will not meet the tax threshold to have it to be subject to income tax, and so which will probably be 70% of the population or more, and so those companies that makes the billions of dollars in the Bahamas, in fact, trillions of dollars is made through the Bahamas, that we have not begun to look at. In fact, I heard in one of the budget debate coming from Minister Warren Miller of the need for us to begin to tax our seas, where the same way we do our airways, where people traffic through the airways. If 80% of more, maybe it's not just 90% of global commerce is by ship, that would mean that the billions of dollars of commerce that happens in the U.S. and other places in South America that transverse our borders won't even notice the taxation process. But somehow we keep ignoring that. Individuals like myself have been advocating that for almost 2 decades now. And so when you look at the budget, the question is it a growth budget? No, it's a tax and spend budget if you look at it in the purest sense. And so even though they say new taxes, you got new service fees and increase, those are taxes no matter how you think about it. If I was paying $20 for a license and you now charge me a fee of $25, you say that's not a new tax. It is. It may not be a direct tax. It's an indirect tax. And at the same time, I don't have the resources. If you look at the impact that BPL is devastating, in fact, the greatest enemy of the Bahamas has been BPL. And because BPL, you have to understand the multiplying effect of its impact on businesses. And secondly, the cost of energy in the Bahamas is passed on 100% to consumers. I know of no business. I challenge out of the 40, 50,000 businesses in the Bahamas to bring me one business person today, even lawyers, doctors, whatever, that actually pays an electricity bill. They do not pay electricity bill. They do not pay phone bills. Those are pass-throughs. When you go to the food store, Mr. Roberts pays no electricity bills. Those are incorporated within the products, okay? So let's not pretend that, because Mr. Roberts has a $5 million light bill, that has nothing to do with you. Really, go buy something in the store and see if he's eating that charge. And it's the same thing in everything we do. So we're paying the high electricity bills ourselves. And at the same time, we're paying it in our goods and services. And so it has an impact giving less money because it goes into the corporate type environment. So when you look at BTC, ripping this type of money out of the economy, the money does not have a time to multiply. Because if that individual is now that I have people getting $600,000 light bill, where that $1,000 would normally be spent within the economy and then spent to someone else and spent to someone else, that's a multiplier effect. That is not happening. And so the impact of what the government has failed to do concerning the hedging, that the big debate concerning Alfred says and Michael Pinta had concerning his misleading Parliament 8 times, is a very, very important factor that we must consider. And the fact that you're going to be paying hundreds of millions of dollars in energy charges is directly impact every single person in the Bahamas, including the homeless person, because they use to light the streetlights. And so it doesn't miss anyone. And so these things are what they call diminishing return of our economy. And we have not have any strategy anywhere at any time in our budget debate or in our conversation concerning how do we address these shortfalls. We keep talking about this money coming in, we're going to spend, but there's no practical implementable solutions, not a single one that I've heard that was incorporated in this budget.
Well, if you listen to, say, Michael Halkitis describe this budget, you would wonder whether or not he's talking about the same budget communication that you are talking about, because it's like polar opposites of the spectrum in terms of opinion. Let's go ahead and hear what Senator Halkitis had to say during the debate at the Senate level.
Madam President, in my opinion, this is one of the most important budgets in the 50-year history of us as an independent nation.
Total revenue for the country increasing by 14.5% or $267.2 million when compared to the previous year, this much according to Minister of Economic Affairs Michael Halkitis. With 72.9% coming from improved tax revenue, Minister Halkitis pushing that this improvement is not coming from the government adding taxes to the Bahamian people.
In areas such as property taxes, VAT, stamp taxes, gaming taxes, special licenses to conduct special businesses, and departure taxes, excise taxes, and customs, Madam President. And I want to say, we have all of those went up and very nicely. And I want to say, all of this happened in an environment not of increasing taxes to get more taxes, but it is the result of the improvement in the economy, the growth of the economy, and the improvement in the labor market, where you have more people going to work, more people earning money, more people being able to spend money in the economy.
And with multiple concerns being raised by the official opposition about government expenditure, Halkitis reveals there will only be a 0.4 increase in government spending.
$12 million the expenditure is being increased by. $12 million. 0.04%. All right? Yeah, 0.4%. Less than half of 1%.
It's a nominal reduction.
Exactly. Less than half of 1% spending increase. That's less than, as my fellow, my colleague, the AG has said, that's less than inflation. So in effect, that's a reduction in spending.
And as for the public sector, police officers, defense force officers, prison officers, social workers, and many more will be receiving a boost to their income starting July 1st, 2023.
Funding has also been designated in the Ministry of Finance, Madam President, to undertake a thorough evaluation of salaries for all public sector staff, except MPs, This undertaking is anticipated to serve as an impartial benchmark for future discussions regarding compensation in the public sector. And what this is, Madam President, is, the public sector is, the government competes with the private sector in terms of attracting qualified employees, qualified individuals to work. And so what we want to do is to do a study to see what the comparisons are in the private sector.
All right, C. Allen. So, what are your thoughts?
Gold medal. He gets a gold medal for linguistic contortionism. I just want you to take this scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
In 2018, I was making $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
In 2019, I lost $25,000 of that because hurricane struck in September. So I'm only making. I only netted. I normally make $100,000. I netted $75,000 for 2019. 2020, COVID hit, and I flatlined almost maybe $10,000. Let's put it at I make $20,000. So my income has dropped from $100,000 to $20,000, and let's keep it at the same $25,000 in 2021 because I opened up a little in the third quarter.
Mm-hmm.
So now I come to 2022 and I make $50,000, and I said my income has increased 100% from the previous year. So I'm making $50,000, and so now I come back the next year and say my income is up 20%, which then brings me at $60,000, and I can brag that I have a 20% increase in my income from the previous year, but I'm nowhere near the $100,000 I was making in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem with these budget debates. That what he's saying is true, but it doesn't give the true picture in comparison as to where we are from a financial standpoint. We have not reached pre-2019 figures in any stretch of the imagination. If we did, they would be screaming, we have reached 100% of pre-2019 figures, which is the benchmark for where we technically left off with the impact of Dorian and COVID. And so the fact is that no one challenges them because they are also part of the problem. Because when you made the practice of doing the same thing, it's very hard for the opposition now to come back and basically say the same rule they use is no longer valid. And so the problem is that we don't have sufficient people in the public domain that actually dissects the budget. And so when you're now talking about an increase in salaries to the public service, and in fact we've had an increase in the public service, the question is, where does government get its money from? Government doesn't generate any money. In fact, most of government SEOs are SOEs, state-owned enterprises, are money-losing entities. In fact, when you look at, and I don't want people to believe that state-owned enterprises are necessarily has to make money. There's no reason why we should expect we should be upset that Bahamas Air loses money if its action grows the economy. If Bahamas Air loses $50 million, but the economy grows by hundreds of millions of dollars that the government could tax and get that $50 million or more, then it doesn't matter. It's what like how the stores do. The stores have a concept called loss leaders, where they say we have eggs in the store on sale right now for $1.99. They know that when you come into the store, based on their analytics, there are certain products that is bought in conjunction with the egg. So they will at minimum break even if this amount occurs, if this other action occurs. So you can't say, oh, the store lost millions of dollars on eggs, but the store made 1.5 million on bacon. So it lost $1 million on eggs, but it made an extra $1.5 million on bacon. So the net gain to the store it's $500,000. And that's how the economy works. And so the problem is that BPL is a 100%, 1,000% negative drain on the economy. And the same thing with the water companies. And so these companies have no economic production value to the economy. And generally speaking, that's because it's run by family, friends, lovers, foreigners, and whatever else, because there's no intellectual capital that's expended into this. These are appointments and anointments of individuals that happen to support me. And every 5 years, we keep resetting the clock, or the development clock. And so when the government now talk, and Alcides talk about this growth budget and development, the question that becomes is, if the economy hasn't snapped back, then that means if you have a growth in the economy and the income of individuals have not grown, just simply means that government has no production value. The government is taking that more money it needs from lesser people. That's no matter how you mount it. And you could say, I didn't tax you directly. Say, see, I didn't reach into your right pocket. Yeah, but I felt you reaching in my back pocket. So it is what it is. Government makes no money. We have no revenue. We have yet to exploit our resources. So in the truest sense, government taxes us for everything. So it is impossible for government to say no new taxes if they have an increase in revenue. Okay, where does that come from? Government gets 100% of its revenue today from taxation. What they mean is, when they say no new taxes, they mean under the definition of the word tax. Not so when they say service fees or user fees and all these other different things, they don't consider those taxation, but they are in the purest sense. The problem with the budget is that I ask anyone to listen to the days and days of conversation and ask me where's the growth strategies, where they talk about these different things. They talk about, oh, we're going to borrow $30 million from this to do some orange economy things, we can borrow some money. But if you ask them, present me an impact study. They have SWOTs, they have pastels and other impact studies. Present me the information on how these loans will have the anticipated impact on the economy by virtue of their distribution. And it's the same thing when you have Access Accelerator that we give $50 million a year to for disbursement. Can you show where the economic impact from everything you have done, from the growth and the impact, and these things can be done? The data is there. We may not want to confront it. And these are things that the new statistics department we have should make available to the public. And they give us these reports, and the biggest, I almost use obscenity.
No, please don't.
What I'm saying, what they give us is this crap where they call these reports. Reports are not data. Reports is an opinion that you squeeze or massage from the data by the questions you ask. In the same way that you could have given me the same unemployment report, and then I could tell you how many people were unemployed. Not the percentage of unemployment based on international standards. I would say, look, we have 250,000 people in the country. I went over to National Insurance. National Insurance told me only 120,000 is employed and another 60,000 is in the informal economy. So technically, we have 180,000 people employed and 70,000 people are unemployed.
Well, they did have a big row over that in the House of Assembly.
Yeah, but they were still only talking about the statistic part. Neither side was still looking for the full truth. Because understand, if they set a standard, they would have to live by that standard when they come back in.
So listen, we have to take a break. On the other side of the break, I want to look at what the opposition leader has to say with regard to the budget. And obviously, throughout the course of the show, we're going to look at specific areas as presented by the various ministers. So we've got quite a lot ahead. Stay with us. This is GPS. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors.
Global Paradigm Shift will return after this.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 Hyperimmune Egg Powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for a rim fix and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Tracklight, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires, cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Blessed love.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your longevity associate.
This portion of GPS is brought to you by Tiki Bikini Hut at Junkanoo Beach. Great food, cool tropical drinks, and family fun in the sun.
And we are back. Welcome back to GPS, Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm in your company. And we're talking about the budget communication today. The telephone numbers to call are 3260271. 3260271, 3260272, 3260272, the WhatsApp line, 8010271. And you can call or text us on that line. The number again, 8010271. We are streaming live on Facebook on the official Michelle Malcolm and the official Global 99.5 FM pages. Check us out also on YouTube on our official channels. And if you are a Cable Bahamas subscriber, you will find us on channel 974. Of course, we're coming to you by way of radio, 99.5 FM on the dial here in the Providence, also airing live in Grand Bahama. And last but not least, you can go ahead and download the Global 99.5 FM app and check us out that way. My guest today is C. Alan Johnson. We are talking about the budget communication, which obviously is designed to provide the direction for the country as it relates to the economic health and economic affairs of the nation for the next fiscal year. The fiscal year begins July 1. for the government. And so obviously they have to have this all done and wrapped up before July 1, because that's when the new budget kicks in. And so we've heard from all the ministers, we've heard from the prime minister, we've also heard from the leader of the official opposition, Michael Pintard, who clearly, based on his comments, was less than impressed with the budget. Matter of fact, he went so far as to call the budget communications disappointing.
We expected to see concrete plans that would uplift the Bahamian people, stimulate economic growth, and address the pressing issues our nation faces. However, Madam Speaker, what we have witnessed is in many ways disheartening. An absence of measures to provide genuine relief to individuals and businesses grappling with the economic consequences of Dorian and COVID, and facing other challenges, some induced nationally and others internationally. Madam Speaker, the scarcity of support for small businesses is alarming, and we know that they are the backbone of this society. These enterprises, Madam Speaker, have faced immense hardships from prolonged closures, reduced consumer spending. We were hopeful that this budget would offer some targeted assistance, such as financial relief, access to credit, investment incentives.
Now, we know, C. Allen, that the role of the opposition is to oppose.
No, I think that I don't correct that when you finish. Go ahead.
Is he onto something, though? Is he absolutely correct with his analysis of this budget, or is he just playing his role as leader of the opposition?
No, I would put to you that he's right on the money in his utterances. I mean, he hits the bullseye. You could say a little to the left or a little bit to the right, but he hits the bullseye. But the opposition position is, we in the Bahamas, we've taken a position. It means to oppose. It means to provide alternative. That is what is lacking from it. Remember, most people treat opposition as waiting to be government, when the true definition is government in waiting. So the government in waiting then puts forth counter policy suggestions that the government can take to actually bring about diesel growth and whatever else. They have the analysis of the tool, and they have the benefits of being the previous government to know the directory that of the country is going. If you look at the budget, it's always about 4 to 5 years forecast ahead in that budget. So even now, we would still be within the budgetary forecast of the previous administration of what it could be, and you could look and do a comparison. Let's talk an example for what the government says, right? And these are things that we don't get to talk about, or we don't see in the media. The government forecast its revenue in last year's budget, saying they anticipated they had a $2.8 million budget for recurrent revenue. I think it's called. I'm looking over here, right? And yeah, recurrent revenue, and their recurrent expenditures at that same time was 2.9. They didn't hit those marks. So now let's look at this year. So what happens is their expenditures went from 2.95 billion to almost $3.085 billion. That's what $133 billion. They went up in their expenditures. Even though the economy has not returned in growth, they forecast bringing in almost $1.5 billion more than they took in last year. Now remember, they forecast, this is their forecast, not considering even the shortfalls that they did. The government made an argument that they only had to borrow $45 million. That could be a disingenuous argument in itself. And this is where these financial pitfalls are being hidden from us. The mere fact that I have not billed you yet, right? I haven't sent you a bill yet from the underlying company. I haven't sent you a bill yet. And so, but you've incurred the bill, but I just haven't billed you yet. And so you now say, oh, I have enough money that I'm only short $50 this month. When in reality is that you may be short $350 because you haven't received the new bill yet. You're talking about the current bills in the front of you. And so that's where, these manufactured things come from. Then you also have a whole lot of things that we don't talk about. So when we do a comparative analysis of last year, previous year, and going back to 2019 and future projections, it then brings the truth to what the Michael Pintard says about the growth strategy. Where's the growth strategy? Let's use another example. In the government budget, it may have schools and hospitals and all of these things and road repairs and all of these infrastructure improvement. Now, let's say the government did have a $3 billion budget for last year, and they only say they shot $45 million this year because they put it in. That's not necessarily true. My question is, did you build the schools that you had budgeted? Did you build the hospital that you have budgeted? Did you do the repairs that you have budgeted? So if you didn't do those things, yes, your shortfall is what you may say it be, but now you have a deteriorated infrastructure that is necessary to generate the revenue that is needed for this year because you didn't even do it last year. So you have worse roads, you have worse systems, you have worse everything. For instance, government subsidized BPL for that number of time. And so now the effect BPL for bad decisions made is going to have on the economy in this thing. It's a cascading effect. And somehow we seem to try to look at the best. It's like almost like we say is, well, it's a good thing he was shot sitting down because he might have hit the ground harder. And I question, why did he have to get shot? That's the question. Be like, not like we look at the goodness in it. Boy, had he got shot standing up, he probably would have fell and hit his head. So when he got shot sitting down, he only was able to lean over. And the question is, the bullet, the shot. The question is, why was he shot? And we have this God will provide type environment. I call it, where in the Bahamas we've adopted a thinking where we may be the only nation that I know of that actually anticipate winning the lottery without ever buying a ticket, because God will provide. Because we have these things and we become politicized in our arguments, and we arguing that who put the bigger hole in the boat that we're all in. In Parliament, we had debates. In this Parliament, I was very, very disappointed, and you could actually use observation. I guarantee you, 2/3 of this budget debate was spent looking back. Y'all did this. Y'all did. I mean, these guys then went all the way back. I don't know if they went back to the Burma Wood riot. I was losing fire. I mean, these guys. It was more about history than it was about the future. Y'all did this, and y'all opposed national insurance, and y'all opposed independence, and I was like, what the hell? We're 50 years into independence. We are independent. What does who oppose this has to do with our growth and development going forward? Most of the people who supposedly oppose independence is dead, or soon will go to their resting place. But we have a population that, how many of those population was alive in 1973 that we should be catering to and building the Bahamas for in the future? And this budget was lacking vision. It had a lot of talking points, and I'm saying the strengths of the talking points, I mean, tremendous opportunities in the talking points that we had. We literally speaking Warren Miller, and believe it or not, a lot of people may not realize it. Warren Miller is the strongest minister in the government today. And a lot of people may not pay attention. Why? The green economy, which will become $1 trillion economy by 2030, is in Warren Miller portfolio. The blue economy, which will become $1 trillion economy, is in Warren Miller's portfolio. The aquamarine economy, which will become a multi-trillion dollar economy by 2030, is in Warren Miller's portfolio. The ocean economy and even so for the transport aspect of it is in Minister of Transport, Jobert Colby, but in the same aspect of protecting the environment and control of it and pollution and everything else is in Warren Miller. The climate economy is in Warren Miller. That's involved the environment. The carbon economy is in Warren Miller's economy. And then you could throw in there the orange economy is within, all of these are $1 trillion economy that the country is absolutely dependent on to grow the economy in the next decade. And the world has shifted to these type of models. And the prime minister, every time he goes on this international travel, as Minister of Finance, he refers to Warren Miller's portfolio. When he talks about the global warming and climate change, it falls into the Minister of the Environment portfolio. And so here it is that we have an opportunity to look at that ministry and look to see how the growth strategy can happen. And I think we are overlooking the opportunities that lies within that. Okay, we're talking about the $150 billion a year on in the carbon credits. That's Warren Miller's portfolio, the Ministry of the Environment. If you start talking about, whether you talk about aragonite, whether you talk about salt, you talk about mangroves, you talk about seagrass, you talk about the sea marshes, you talk about every one of those. In fact, if you even talk about the air, the airspace, we must be very concerned about how it impacts our environment. We talk about the sea lanes. We must be concerned on how it impacts our environment. So the two ministries I think we should be looking forward to is the Ministry of Finance, which should be dictating to, and I'll extend it to three ministries. The Minister of Investments should be looking at the Ministry of Environment to see how he could incorporate and stimulate growth in those type environment. And then you start looking at the digital, the data, the artificial intelligence, the crypto economy, all of these different things. All of these are in existence in the Bahamas today in some small form. But we have not had a conversation as to how we could bring these to light. And let me just add this here. There will be, let me repeat what Prime Minister at the time in 2002, Prime Minister Hubert Ingram said, and opposition leader Perry Christie said in 2002, there would be no economic growth in the Bahamas without Grand Bahama playing front and center. Let's repeat, in 2007, the Prime Minister at the time, the positions flipped. It was Perry Christie and Hubert Ingram. It says there'll be no growth in the Bahamas without the input from Grand Bahama. 2012, repeat. 2017, this time the opposition, Hubert Menace, said it. Perry Christie repeated. Again, in 2021, go and check the record. Hubert Menace repeated it. Philip Brave Davis said it. There will be no economic development. You can name every single, the 30 economic models that's possible in the Bahamas, and every one of them fall front and center on Grand Bahama. Not just Grand Bahama, but Freeport more specifically. And so this argument concerning Freeport is very important. And so when we start talking, which don't want to pull this in because in the budget debate, but they were put in the budget, Freeport was put in the budget debate with the Grand Bahama Port Authority. A vision for the Bahamas must be expressed, and Freeport must be front and center. No other island possess in real time, existing today, the economic infrastructure, the regular infrastructure to bring any of the economic models we speak about into fruition today. There'll be headquarters here. Green, blue, orange, aquamarine, digital, crypto, artificial intelligence, whatever it is. Freeport is it. And so when you don't hear this coming from the Grand Bahama Port Authority, you must have to become very concerned, because from the Grand Bahama Port Authority, they are custodians of this economy. And just me make this one more point. But when you must also hear it from the national government, because the Grand Bahama economy or Freeport economy is subject to the national strategy. And so we have not heard from either of them as to what is happening. But the Grand Bahama Port Authority can't use an excuse that they're waiting on government, because the Grand Bahama Port Authority can put forth their vision and force government to respond to it, because the people will want to have a buy-in.
I want to go back to the point that you made with regard to the strength of Von Miller's portfolio. Do you get the impression that in many ways Minister Miller is pretty much just I'm trying to be very careful how I say this, but it has just been placed
He's
in
sitting
that
in the car.
position.
In the car, you would say we have an autonomous vehicle, and he's sitting in the seat.
Yeah, because
Well, well,
I remember an international event that clearly dealt with his portfolio. That they took this whole dray load of people with them, and he was not included in that mix of people who went to deal with a matter that sits within his portfolio.
well,
And a lot of people were questioning, well, why isn't he there? And there's some people who believe that they're not hearing sufficient from him, even though his portfolio is stacked with all of these very important economies, as you have pointed out. Yet there are some who are asking, what's Von Miller doing? Why are we not hearing more from him? How do you respond to that?
well, the prime minister would have to answer that because what happens is one Miller uh, portfolio is, like I said, is the most powerful portfolio in existence today, and so it could be very well that if Warren Miller was to take a lead in his portfolio, in his ministry, he could very well overshadow the Minister of Investments as well as the Minister of Finance, and he could become a great tool to augment the Prime Minister. But you have to be able to separate as a leader your position as Minister of Finance and Prime Minister, and don't feel threatened by those within your portfolio. Nobody heard from Warren Miller for the 2 years of this, or whatever, 18 months, 20 months of this government. But I listened with intent, and I would tell anyone, go back and listen to Warren Miller's presentation in the House of Assembly. He broke down not only the economic models that came under his portfolio directly. He didn't touch like the orange economy, which would include like the shipwrecks, because that's part of our heritage, and the need for digitization of these very other economies that he have, which will then bring in the data economy and even artificial intelligence. So you see how his economic model bleed into everything else that we want. What happens though is that he mentioned those very specifically, and then he began to touch on a number of natural resources that a lot of people never heard of, and I don't think they did not. So it then begins to show that our natural resources is beyond aragonite and salt, and the newfound focus on seagrass.
Yeah.
Because we begin to recognize the mud that he mentioned, the mangroves, the salt marshes, the sea grasses. I don't remember them all. Because they're not in front of me right now. But it's a lot of things that he touched on. And then he says, I heard the bell ring, bing, whatever. And then we saw him flip through some pages. I just wish he had started on that speech, on that part of his speech earlier, because that is very important. In fact, I think that should be, in fact, I would think I will do that, extract that from that and publish it. Because, again, we're talking about this budget, and the opposition Pintard is absolutely correct, because there is no strategies. And I tell people all the time, don't tell me how you felt. Give me the roadmap, bring me the blueprint, the tangible, give me the written policy on how I could pick this up, just in case something happened to Parliament, that old building collapse, and take a few of our, God forbid, take a few of our parliamentarians, we could say, don't worry, we have the document with us, we could continue, without them. Those strategies do not exist.
Okay, we have to take a break. So let's take this break. And then on the other side of the break, we're going to continue with this conversation with regard to an overview of the budget communication, and what it means for us as a country, what it means for you and I as citizens, what it means for our economy going forward, and whether or not it is really, outlining a plan or just massaging us, and making us feel better while we're going down this cliff. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors. Stay with us.
16.
This is
Global Paradigm Shift will return after this.
Your body's immune system is under constant pressure from things like stress, lack of exercise, and toxins in the environment. It's crucial to be proactive and support your immune system with the nutrients it needs to function effectively. But it's often hard to get these nutrients from food alone. Introducing fast-acting Zinc Plus Immune Support by Longevity. Unlike zinc-only supplements, Zinc Plus Immune Support builds on the proven power of zinc and adds complementary nutrients to give your immune system extra support. Vitamin D helps balance the effects of zinc, while our proprietary blend of natural fruit and root extracts provides the extra help your immune system needs to work against daily stressors. And we've included Longevity's exclusive plant-derived minerals to give your body the minerals it needs but can't get from food alone. And because Zinc Plus Immune Support is delivered in a great-tasting sugar-free berry-flavored lozenge, it encourages quicker absorption of all these nutrients into your body. Zinc Plus Immune Support. Zinc plus the extra support your body needs to promote a healthy immune system. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for a rims, paints, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Tracklight, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires. Cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Blessed love.
It's gotten harder and harder to get your daily requirement of vital nutrients from food alone. Without additional vitamin and nutrient support, your health and well-being can suffer drastically. That's why Z-Radical was specifically formulated. It combines a blend of antioxidant-rich vitamins, minerals, and botanicals with the protective powers of fucoidan to help fill the gaps from lack of nutrients in your foods. The core of Z-Radical is fucoidan, a naturally occurring polysaccharide that helps stimulate immune reaction, protecting you against inflammation and oxidative stress. We harvest this powerful mineral-rich nutrient from brown seaweed, harvested only from the world's most pristine ocean waters to ensure the purest quality. It's then extracted using cold process technology to ensure maximum levels of bioavailability. Then we add essential vitamins that help to protect your cardiovascular and nervous systems and are crucial for optimal immune and neurological function. Z-Radical also includes a proprietary blend of delicious antioxidant-rich fruits and berries. This great-tasting combination helps your body combat free radical imbalances that can contribute to a variety of degenerative conditions like arthritis and heart disease. Z-Radical. Experience the power of fucoidan with antioxidant-rich berries, 8 essential vitamins, and more to provide you with potent health benefits. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
And welcome back to GPS, Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm here in your company. We are streaming live on Facebook on the official Michelle Malcolm Facebook page, as well as the official Global 99.5 FM page. And you can also check us out on YouTube on our official channels. The telephone numbers to call are 326-0271, 326-0271, 326-0272, 326-0272, the WhatsApp line, 801-0271, 801-0271, and that is for both messages and calls. You can check us out on Cable Bahamas Channel 974 or download the Global 99.5 FM app. And of course, you can get us by radio 99.5 on your FM dial here in New Providence. And also you can tune in by radio from Grand Bahama. A huge welcome to you all. And speaking of Grand Bahama, my guest today is coming all the way from Grand Bahama, C. Alan Johnson. We're talking about the budget communication, what it means for the country, what it means for our economy, what it means for us as citizens going forward. You know, C. Alan, traditionally, education received the the what we call the lion's share of the budget.
Yes.
And when you look at what's happened to our educational system over the past um, couple of years since the pandemic, I mean, we've heard the alarming figures about how many students were lost during that time that have yet to be refound, and what that will look like for our economy in the future, with so many of our young people, in essence, not having at least a high school diploma, what that will mean for our economy going forward. During her presentation to the budget debate, the Minister of Education highlighted school repairs, talking about, I think, like $40 million being invested in repairing schools. So let's listen to her um, uh, highlights from her contribution to the debate, and then let's break down where we're at as far as education is concerned.
Millions have been allocated in this upcoming fiscal year for the upgrades to over 160 plus public school facilities. This announcement coming from Education Minister Gladys Hannah Martin, adding that the physical state for some of the facilities has become a hazard for students and teachers.
Expenditures required during the upcoming fiscal year to facilitate the corrective measures at the various facilities, construct extensions, and commence the construction of 3 needed schools are in excess of $37 million.
The education minister says that several classroom blocks will be constructed in the hopes of easing overcrowding within the schools.
The construction of a classroom block at Cooperstown at a cost of $3.7 million. Construction of a classroom block at Arthurstown at a cost of $3.9 million. Construction of a classroom block at Patrick J. Bethel High School at a cost of $4.9 million. Construction of a classroom block at Emma Cooper Primary School at a cost of $600,000, and construction of the administrative block at Foxtown Primary at a cost of $600,000.
Here are the other projects underway.
Construction of a covered pavilion for lunch at R.M. Bailey High School at a cost of $2.6 million. Renovations and expansion of the Ministry of Education Supplies and Materials Warehouse at a cost of $4.5 million. Phase 2 redevelopment of the government high school at a cost of $3.4 million.
Hannah Martin adds that government is committed to completing the following schools throughout the Family Islands.
Georgetown Primary, estimated at $10 million. San Salvador High School, estimated at a cost of $10 million. And the following projects are expected to be completed and ready for occupancy at the start of the academic year.
All right, Cialan, I have a question for you. School repairs are obviously important, but are we missing the main purpose and point of what a developing or a developed educational system should be looking like in the year 2023 for us going forward as a nation? Are you satisfied that that 40 million is being used the best way that it can be used? And I'm not saying that school repairs is not important, but what was your takeaway from that?
She discussed buying more shovels for the hole that we're in.
Oh gosh.
You know, I want you to listen carefully to what she said, right, in her entire contribution. We haven't had 100% of students return, yet we are overcrowded, that we have to build space. We have school buildings that are 30, 40, 50 years old that has passed their end of life in the 20th century, and we are now 22 years into the 21st century. We have buildings that is archaic at best in the 21st century environment when you talk about a digitally immersive type process. We have an education system that is slowly deteriorated into the abyss that's still preparing students using archaic. Literally, we are preparing students for 19th century concepts in the 20th century building, and the absence of in the absence of 20th century, we have 19th century curriculum, practically skill sets that we're talking about. We haven't even moved to the 20th century in the purest sense. Utilizing 20th century buildings for a 21st century environment. Our education system have yet to embrace technology, artificial intelligence now, will super enhance. I can tell you this, right? Just use an example, not to brag, right? My daughter, the 6-year-old, has using artificial intelligence just in the last year, not when everybody discovered it in March or November when it's released to the public, but she moved in, I saw her move in 6 months from the 4th grade level to the 5th grade level. Just utilizing the AI induced or enhanced learning environment that she has learned to manipulate herself. That is what we should be doing for all of the students. And I said you're a 6-year-old that is very comfortably, my daughter's at the 4th grade level, based on our education system. Not even based on our education system, actually it's based on the Khan Academy of the US or something else educational system, but the point I make is that technology enhanced learning is available. We can solve this problem of the skills gap. When we start talking about education, let's look at education. Have we built an education system that actually begin to transfer the 21st century skills needed for these economic models? We talk about the tech hubs and digital economy and all these different things. And we don't have the skill set. We have the Grand Bahamas Port Authority now talking they're going to bring a foreigner in to teach the skill set. My question to them, the Port Authority and the Ministry of Education, where have you determined the needed skill set in the absence of a plan of where you're going to be going? And so, so essentially, you could just be building ad hoc skill sets. And so,
well, speaking of a plan, Cialan, the Prime Minister did say that they're going to take the National Development Plan that was worked on under, I think it was the Christie administration. They're going to brush that off. They're going to get a team of people to actually look at the implementation of that plan. What are your thoughts on all of that?
The National Development Plan, everything the National Development Plan may have been based on 5, 6, 7 years ago no longer exists. If whatever you said in there,
if you trying to say our National Development Plan is obsolete?
It is. It actually was a book of ideas based on things of possibilities. Remember, the name was the National Development Plan, but there was no plan in that book. There's no strategy in that book. It was a list of probabilities and possibilities.
So you're trying to tell me that the Prime Minister, the administration is putting together a team of people to implement a plan that is no longer relevant in today's world. That's what you're trying to say.
Yes, and I'll invite public debate. I know the plan very intimately because I served as chairman of the political party that Mr. Greg Morse led, and at the time we challenged the National Development Plan as being inadequate and didn't address the 21st centuries. And in fact, within 24 hours of us challenging it, the plan was withdrawn from the public domain. And it was brought back again with no significant changes except for some verbiages concerning some deficiencies we spoke about. There was no strategies of implementation. It was a book of ideas based on the global environment at the time you created. You can't build a national development plan on the present. You have to go and stand in the future. This is what the concept is. A vision is an expression of the future in the present. Let me repeat that. A vision is an expression of the future in the present. So your national development plan just can't say, these are some things that we can do. What you have to do is you have to define where we want to be in 5, 10, 20 years. And then we unveil a strategy that sets benchmarks of achievement that is adjusted every single year. In fact, every January 1st, we should have a 5-year plan. Let me repeat, I didn't say every 5 years from now. Every January 1st, we should have a 5-year plan, meaning that we should look at where we are, junk the 5-year plan we have, and create a new 5-year plan as based on what it is. And the concept is, it's a balancing act, like we use this for fundraising. If I have 5 months to raise $5, and this month I say I need to raise $1 a month. So this month I raise $1. I've hit my goal. Next month I've made 50 cents. I don't keep saying, oh, I'm short 50 cents. What we do is we stop at this now and say, oh, to achieve our goal at the end of 5 years, we should be at $2, we're at $1.50. So now we have to divide the remainder 3 years into that $3.50. So now we must make what is that? We must now collect $1.18 now to meet our goal in the following year. And this is what a national development plan does. It's a real-time living document that adjusts in real time based on the environment. Let's take November. The world did not even know, except for those of us immersed in the artificial intelligence market. The world didn't even know it existed until November, and it woke up to it in March. And next thing you know, 100 million people and every company in the world. I mean, I see janitorial companies say we use AI now for cleaning. I mean, because and that's the type of change that has taken the impact on. There's no model that won't be impacted, no economic model that won't be impacted by artificial intelligence, digitization. We have officially moved into a hyper-connected convergence revolution where the world will never be the same in the next 1, 2, 3 years. So everything that we may have talked about in that national development prospectus, is no longer valid in the context of the reality that we are in today. And this is why when we even talk about these so-called economic models that we want to invoke, that the budget gives hints to, but no directions on how to achieve it, we have to have real conversation concerning the economic requirements. If we look at where we are today, and this is why there's a unique opportunity in front of us concerning these carbon credits, concerning these environment, because the beauty is we don't need to wait on the exploitation of carbon credits for when the standards are established. We can begin economic models, cities of innovation, or innovation centers and hubs and accelerators and startup. These are things that is going towards causing growth bringing growth into our economy, and at the same time transfer real-time skill set. Why? Because we have the ability to set our training program to take a person who's failed out of school, look into the future, and begin to train them for the skill they need then, not what we think they needed yesterday. And so they can move into this green and blue and orange economy and digital economy. It doesn't take much for digital entrepreneurship right now, especially with the advent of the data economy and artificial intelligence. It's just teaching people how to use these tools for the exploitation. Let's think about it. I want you to think about a person who, instead of going for a job paying the minimum wage or going to try to get into government, that you can teach them to use the device in their hand and look and use data and artificial intelligence in the orange economy and make $300, $400, $500 a week. Forget the millions of dollars these so-called social influencers are making. They will be making more money than the average college grad within the Bahamas. And we could create hundreds, if not thousands of these in real time right now. And so we have opportunities to grow. This is why I'm looking forward to the end of this so-called pissing match, for lack of a better word, that's happening about Freeport. And hopefully they actually get into the ring and start throwing out real ideas. I'm very concerned too about the individuals that's commenting on the Grand Bahama Port Authority and the Bahamian economy. And we could talk about this budget. I heard plenty commentaries on it. And it takes me to a statement. It says, the opinion of 1,000 does not matter if they know not the subject for which they speak on. The opinion of 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 individuals means nothing if they know nothing about the subject for which they speak on. And
okay.
so
I want to read a comment coming in on WhatsApp. It says, why is the excuse we are a developing nation always used as a crutch by politicians? In my opinion, they need to start developing. The only thing they really rely on is tourism. If not for tourism, the Bahamas would be a sinking ship. What are your thoughts?
It's a positive and negative in that statement. First of all, we are a developing nation, but I want you all to listen to your leaders. Your leaders have been crying because of the developing nation status that we have. You hear them talk about our GDP and, we don't get grants and free stuff, because they want to go back to a third world status. That's the only way you get those grants and stuff. You have to be designated as a third world. Our leaders for the last decade or maybe 2 decades have been crying that we should be redefined as a third world country. That's disturbing. Do you know what is the one thing that's missing from our developing nation status? And that's a human capital development regime. How you build skill set, how you build preparedness into our people, which brings us back to the education. Education has failed our country for at least the last 30 years. Very easily 30 years. Take us back to in fact, I'll take you right back to 1992 when you began the first digital revolution. The second digital revolution, the second technological revolution started right around the 80s, the early 80s, more so with the internet in 1981. We are now in the third technology revolution. We're now in the second digital revolution, and we are still teaching antiquated skills, antiquated concepts of a 21st century environment that we actually, knowing that we don't produce anything yet, we should have been preparing our workforce to reach out. Now, here's the positive. We have not tapped into the possibilities of what tourism could bring because we have been sitting on our laurels, for lack of a better word, waiting for foreigners to develop what we can develop ourselves. This is why we have these inclusive type things. This is why we have this extractive industry. I want you to know tourism today is an extractive industry. Tourism has done worse than mining in the countries and to our environment. Because what tourism does, it comes in, makes billions of dollars, and take 85% of it out of the country on the instant. The problem is we don't own this economy. We don't own the banking and fintech and other things that allows us to do that right now. We don't own the tourism product. In fact, we are laborers. And I put to you that we are now just emancipated slaves. Before we was in slavery in the Bahamas, we didn't get paid, and master took care of our food and housing and everything. So now they supposedly freed us into the yard, not out into the world, and they make us now pay for our housing and food, feeding and everything. And so nothing has changed. It's almost like you say you have a dog that's chained, and you have a yard. You finally got some fence in the yard. So what you do is you remove the chain, and the dog runs around this big yard now and think it's free. We must wake up. We must now move to utilize the 21st century skills to own the economy. Fintech. We need to look at the dare bill, not just for the dare bill for foreigners to come in to exploit this multi-trillion-dollar economy of what we call digital assets, somehow seem to be limited to cryptocurrency, but digital assets is everything digital. And that's part of the data economy. But we have to begin to look at fintech, regulatory tech, supervisory tech, trade fi, insure tech, property tech, all of these type of environment that now allows individuals to actually control. The problem is there's a concept in the Bahamas called CEX and DEX. To us in the digital world, it means centralized exchange and decentralized exchange. The Bahamas leadership wants to maintain a CEX environment. That's why they invited FTX and other people here. Centralized means their involvement. Decentralized is you and I, peer-to-peer, people-to-people. We don't need government. That's why you don't have these laws that I mentioned. This is why these economic models have not happened. When you say for tourism, in Grand Bahama, we need 20,000 bed and breakfast. We have had the government on a monthly basis. I want you to consider this. Divide the $18 million that the government was going to give to a hotel in Grand Bahama and divide it by $100,000 each for just say you're going to build one bed and breakfast. So the government is going to spend the equivalent of building 170 bed and breakfast that would put heads and beds and everything to keep an abandoned hotel open. I want you to divide the $200 million plus we have spent so far on that hotel, and you would have been able to build 2,000 brand new bed and breakfast here on Grand Bahama, when we have spent the equivalent of 2,000 bed and breakfasts keeping an abandoned hotel with 1,234 rooms open with no prospectus of selling it. And I want us to understand this. When you say you're going to sell that hotel for $200 million, ask yourself, if you could come here and build 2,000 bed and breakfasts for $200 million, then why would you buy an abandoned hotel for $200 million that you then have to refurbish that only has 1,234 rooms? It doesn't make economic sense, but it sounds good from the political standpoint to say, you buy it, I sell it, this, and you ain't sell it, you ain't sell it, you sell it. But we're not looking at the waste that we have put into that building. And so the question is, what is the alternative? We're not having these type of conversation in the budget debate. You didn't hear these type of things. What you heard was looking back at what could have, might have, should have been. And so, again, come back to education and what he said. Tourism, if we were to tap into it, if we were to look at the tokenization and digitization of tourism for the ownership, forget the cruise ship. You know, we talk about these 9 million, 8 million people. You know something? It's madness. Imagine that I own a corner store on a roundabout and I start counting cars that pass by my store as people or through my driveway as people who pass through my business. It is garbage. Only the people that come off this thing. We don't have 9 million. We don't have 5 million of those people in those cruise ships get off. However, we have an opportunity to convert them because in the same way, we can give personalized service equivalent to the bed and breakfast. We just have to develop the experience and build these 2,000, 4,000, 10,000 rooms on Grand Bahama and have a major tourism strategy for the Bahamian experience. Build them all over the Bahamas. Fintech and other type of technology allows Bahamians to not have to speak to a single bank in the Bahamas and get 100% financing. And in most instances, they don't have to pay back the loan. But you don't. And I challenge Halkitis to have this conversation. I challenge the economists in the Bahamas, the talking heads, to let's have a conversation concerning the future. But
we have to take a break, C. Allen. We have to take a break. So let's take this break. When we continue, when we come back on the other side of the break, we will continue this conversation as it relates to the budget communication. What does it really mean? And I have a really important question to ask C. Allen on the other side of the break. At least in the last half hour of the show, we're going to at some point tackle this question. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors. Stay with us. This is GPS.
Global paradigm shift will return after this.
At Lee Air, safety is our #1 priority. Flying since 1996, we offer scheduled flights into Fresh Creek and Mangrove Key Andros and Great Harbor Key, Berry Island, twice daily, 7 days a week. Affordable charter services are also available to anywhere in the Bahamas and the Caribbean. Lee Air Charter Services. Call 225-3267, 702-7127, or 322-1317 for reservations.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 hyperimmune egg powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
For all your building needs, it's Carib Construction and Project Management on Gladstone Road. We build it all: schools, homes, hotels, and more, including structures requiring a Phase 3 electrical contractor. We also provide project management services. The first step towards your dream building begins at Carib Construction and Project Management. Call us at 376-1556 or 341-4466.
One of the things I love about the mailboat is their relationship with Bahamas Air. I can earn travel points on my international freight and redeem them when I fly.
For me, online shopping is easy with Mailboat's U.S. addresses and regular freight delivery to Nassau. Plus, I can always prepay customs and freight, and they always notify me when my package arrives.
Yeah, a lot of people think the Mailboat is just for shipping, but they also offer a safe and secure storage facility at affordable rates, all in a central, convenient location.
We also offer passenger service into Freeport multiple times per week with a seating capacity of over 450 persons. With family movies on large screens, one hot meal included, and on-board lounge for snacks and soft drinks. We're the Mailboat. We're bridging people, products, and places.
Executive Printers is your one-stop shop for all your branding and customization needs. Letterheads, envelopes, business cards, invoices, share and gift certificates, rubber stamps, vouchers, funeral programs, brochures, flyers, banners, and promotional items like mugs, water bottles, mouse pads, and key rings, all with personable service and great quality. No project is too small or too large. For great turnaround and competitive pricing, make an executive decision. Call us at 393-5011.
And we are back. Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm in your company. If you haven't already done so, like and share the show on Facebook. We are streaming live on the official Michelle Malcolm Facebook page, as well as the official Global 99.5 FM page on Facebook. Also check us out on YouTube if you wish. And you can also check us out on Cable Bahamas, channel 974. Alternatively, you can download the Global 99.5 FM app to your smart device and check us out there. The WhatsApp number to send us a message or call is 801-0271, 801-0271. And you can also call in live on the show, 326-0271. 326-0271 or 326-0272, 326-0272. And welcome to our radio audience, both by way of New Providence and Grand Bahama. It's always a pleasure to have you guys here. So thank you so much for tuning in. See, Alan, I want to turn my attention to a topic that Bahamians have been crying out for in recent times, and that is the enactment of freedom of information legislation. Let's go and listen to what was said in the House of Assembly with regard to that.
The rollout and testing phase of the Freedom of Information system is expected to be ready by November of this year. This coming from State Minister for Legal Affairs Jomo Campbell.
Under the mentioned IDB loan, the bidding process to choose a vendor to provide a tracking system has begun, and the award of the bid should be announced shortly after which the system will be built and user tested before implementation.
Campbell further explained how funding from the IDB will be central to the rollout of the system.
Under the resources of a $30 million loan program sponsored by the IDB, a consultant has been chosen and has developed a national implementation plan for the phased rollout of the Freedom of Information. This national implementation plan has been presented to Cabinet and approved.
A stakeholders committee has been appointed, and the Centerville MP says that they have met on several occasions to map out the way forward.
And is now tasked with reviewing the implementation plan and advising the Office of the Commissioner. Their support has been crucial. Madam Speaker, full implementation of freedom of information is a process that must be undertaken in stages.
Key ministries have been identified as the pilot agencies to test the system, according to Campbell.
The Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Works, Bahamas Power and Light, Department of Public Procurement, the Treasury, Bahamas Investment Authority, the Ministry of the Public Service, the Ministry of the Environment, and the Department of Immigration.
The Ingram administration had passed the FOIA shortly before the 2012 general election, but gave no date for enactment. Months before the 2017 general election, the Christie administration passed a revised version of the FOI.
Your thoughts, Yellen? Should we get excited?
Garbage then, even more garbage now. I challenge the minister and anyone else who says that we have a freedom of information bill or we have a freedom of information infrastructure prepared. It's pure garbage. It's based on technology. Imagine that the world has been run by data, by these Fortune 500 companies, all data companies, and what we say, we're going to rebuild. Say, we're going to hire people to rebuild with Google and Dell and Oracle and all those other people already did. We're going to hire somebody to build the software for us, build the tracking software for us, build all these different things. It's like, what this is this like I don't know if it's the arrogance or the ignorance. I don't want people to think it's insulting, right? But we live in a culture of political narcissism.
Oh, wow.
Okay, we do. And you have to understand what is a narcissist. A narcissist is somebody who passes him or herself off as a competent, and they usually come across as a competent person. They have the confidence of the competent without the competence. Okay? So we watch our political claim. They overclaim their contributions, overpromise and underdeliver. That's, I don't know, call any psychologist thing. Okay? They will tell you what, they take credit for everything that goes right and they dismiss everything, they blame everybody else that goes wrong. Look at even our third parties practice this. Okay? How you use the expression? They claim the reputational status without having to do any of the hard work that earns the designation. It's a fact. There's no ifs, ands, and buts. And so here we are talking about 21st century concepts with no concept of the 21st century. Let's first talk about the data commissioner. The data commissioner doesn't even know we don't have any digitized records anywhere, organized in any capacity. So essentially what you're going to do, make a request and then somebody will go and hand look and search through whatever to find whatever it is. How about those, let's use Grand Bahama. How do I find the records of the thousands, I know of thousands of files that was destroyed in the storage facilities on Grand Bahama because of the Hurricane Dorian, the records on Abaco, because we are still a paper society. We have not digitized anything. In fact, the archives department are complaining about people working in there because of mold and mildew and everything else, because we haven't moved to digitizing those records. Freedom of information to what? This is intellectual masturbation again.
Oh
this is based in reality of where we live in the 21st century. And so you could put past all information. You can say, whatever you ask for, we'll get it for you. Just remove the time limit because somebody has to go to the basement and hopefully get the right gas mask to be able to find the records. And we should give them 10, 20 years to find the boxes and such. What happens is, if we were serious about freedom of information, at the time we began talking with it, we'd have been digitizing from then going forward, and then have a whole team of individuals to begin to digitize the record going backwards. The one place they don't want to be digitized is immigration. The one place, let me just say this though. When I came home, digitization already had started, you know. There's a company called Benchmark that's run by Erin Kikinos that has digitized a tremendous amount of records. I won't even begin to tell you the legal access that has been had to it, the birth records, all of these different records. And we just need to go find out from Benchmark if we paid him his money yet, because up to the last election, it was not paid. from based on the court records. I think the former Attorney General was a lawyer right up until he became Attorney General, demanding his payment. But he has the records, and we haven't digitized since then anything else that I'm aware of, whether it be our court records, our birth records, our immigration records, all of these different things. And so you could make an announcement with the millions of dollars you spend anywhere for what? It's like buying gas for a car you don't have. You know, it's just pure garbage. And I tell people all the time, you know, I've been talking now for 2 decades. I haven't had anybody to reasonably challenge me. But everything I've said in the evangelized in 2 decades has come true or is being proven to be reality. I don't base my thought on feelings and thinking and how I feel and what I believe, whatever. I am a data-centric person. I base it on evidence. I'm an evidence-based environment. And the data says freedom of information is a fantasy in the Bahamas in the current incarnation concept that we're trying to execute. You could spend $1 million. You know what? Imagine if we're trying to digitize the world. And since 1968, we began digitization in the Bahamas with fill-in and pinning. And I want you to call National Insurance or any government industry and tell them to send you a PDF document. Just tell them to send it to you. Okay.
Well, speaking of national insurance, we did hear a bit more about no rate increase this year.
Yeah, but again, semantics. You know why, right? On average, the people around in our region, in our developed country and development countries, their national insurance caps out at over $100,000. We're still taxing the poor people and raising the rate on the poor people because you simply say if C. Allen Johnson makes $100,000 a year, he only needs to pay national insurance on the first $30,000. So everybody under $30,000 is paying national insurance on 100% of what they make. Everybody else is making $100,000 is only paying it on 30% of what they make. And so if national insurance want to really expand itself in the same way we talk about income tax, we must look at the whole picture of what national insurance is. Yes, I believe that we are too low, but it has to be balanced in the manner that we should be around 15% now. I think we're under 10. And so the problem is not the fact that we should be at 15 or 16% for national insurance alone, because national insurance is not a tax. It is a regime for retirement. I don't remember the exact definition. And national insurance is supposed to have a growth. But national insurance also supposed to be tied into your growth strategy for your economy. From your economic growth of the economy, you didn't hear the Prime Minister talk about that, right? What if we just get those 40,000 individuals we can't find? The 50,000 individuals jobs, wouldn't they just be contributing into the national insurance also? Did you hear them talk about inserting these 70,000, 40,000, 50,000 people into that regime? No, we didn't have that type of conversation. Did we talk about raising the ceiling to maybe $100,000 a year? We didn't have that type of conversation. So there's a lot of deficiencies, and so we're just moving, for lack of a better word, to tax more from less and see if that grows. That's not a growth regime.
Another area of major concern that trickles into other areas like immigration is that of housing deficiencies. Here's what was presented to the House of Assembly as it relates to plans for the housing department.
The Road Traffic Department is looking to rake in approximately $56 million in revenue this upcoming fiscal year, with the recurring expenditure of $6.9 million. This according to Housing and Transport Minister JoBeth Colby Davis. To complement the strong fiscal outlook, Colby Davis says that the department is moving away from the manual inspection process to an automated system.
To testing of brakes, suspension and shock systems, wheel alignment, and light intensity. The inspection regime will not inconvenience or prohibit vehicles from being on the road. Rather, the process is a new process, will be designed to ensure that our vehicles are safe and they are road worthy.
The minister told the parliament by September a code of conduct for all public service drivers and franchise owners will be in place. Breach of the codes will result in the matter being heard by the tribunal.
Madam Speaker, a new franchise inspection process will be instituted by May 2024 to ensure the appropriateness of all vehicles. An additional 40 supervisors will be employed at the road traffic offices throughout the Bahamas with the primary responsibility of enforcing the Road Traffic Act for all franchise holders and public service drivers. The mobile unit will be reconstituted in New Providence.
Capital Works is another priority for the department. The Elizabeth MP says that a number of department offices will be open in the Family Islands with the objective to collect revenue efficiently for the department and provide jobs in those islands.
Plans for this budget period include the opening of a road traffic office in 8 Mile Rock, Grand Bahama by the end of August, and offices in the Orange Creek and New Bight, Cat Island by the end of October 2023. Offices in Mayaguana and Inagua should be ready by the end of December 2023. The Crooked Island office will provide mobile services to Acklands and Long Key and should also be ready by the end of December 2023. Madam Speaker, the new offices will ensure the efficient collection of revenue by the department, create employment opportunities in those islands, and strengthen our efforts to promote road safety.
So that clearly was not about housing, but more so
Yeah,
about road.
but I know I'm familiar with the housing regime. Let's say on that clip, right? Wonderful strategy of government. Stimulate the economy by having people repair their cars so when they leave the building being tested, they can hit a bump and then go mess up their alignment, knock up their shocks, knock everything. Wonderful. So it's simply like get your car working perfectly so we can knock it out of whack and you have to go back to the mechanics. The mechanics should be thanking her. They should be giving her a gold medal. Okay, because we don't have the roads to facilitate what she wants to maintain in that testing facility. Let's go to housing. Government don't build houses. I see this thing where government give people mortgages, right? They say they're giving them a $200,000 house, but technically they're giving them a $360,000 bill to pay over 15 to 20 years. And then they say to them, look, we give you a house. You didn't give me no house. You give me a key and the mortgage payment plan. And that's the problem we have. The government is saying that we are rebuilding houses. Government can't name a single house they build. Okay? Government don't build houses. However, government should create the environment. We have a social housing problem, crisis in this country for senior citizens, for the disabled, for abuse victims, everything else. We have a low-cost housing crisis in this country to make with this low-cost home available. Low-cost home, it is low-cost home. I forget another word that we like to use, right? Low-income home. Ain't no such thing as low-income home. You can't have no low income and have no home. But again, then you have affordable housing. There's some designation. It's called, let me just give it to you. It's called social housing. Then comes next is low-cost housing. Then come affordable housing. Then come attainable housing. Then come luxury housing and ultra-luxury. But the government has made no environment to do this. Why? If the economy doesn't provide the income to build homes, a $200,000 home interest-only payment is $1,000 a month. That's if you never owned a home. So basically, you could extrapolate that to be rent. Then they add to that. So we have a housing crisis. You listen to the housing minister in her last set of country, which she told you we were short 80,000 homes. We have to build 3,000 homes or more, 3,000, 4,000 homes per year. We haven't begun to go into the excess. That's homes. These are what we call housing units. It could be apartments and other different things. We are not building even the 3,000 units per year just to keep at net zero to where we are. And government has provided no legitimate strategy to encourage people to build social housing, low-cost housing, affordable housing, and attainable housing, because our economy has no capital there to support it. Let's look at what happened. In 1973, we used to brag about home ownership. Our GDP, we had a population of 200,000 people, and our GDP was, listen to this, $600 million. Today, we have double the population, and I want you to compare the GDP. 600 million to, if you want to use the government, 13.5 billion. Okay? Dollars. Double population, but now we got but the true informal economy is we went from $600 million, double the population, to $16 billion, and we own less homes, less hotels, less of everything. Something is wrong with the so-called budget and economic. This is when Mr. Pintard says, there is nothing in this for Bahamians. accept the continuation of the slave regime. We are now in a 21st century environment that allows us to move into an economic conversation. And this is what I expect from third parties, If the two elephants in the room are the two dinosaurs, then where's the new ideas of innovation and development and transformation that happens?
We have to take a break. I have a very important question to ask you on the other side of the break. So stay with us. This is GPS. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors.
Global Paradigm Shift will return after this.
Blood sugar levels play a key role in your appetite, weight gain, and overall health. When you have a blood sugar spike, you can feel confused, dizzy, and even have increased cravings. Eating carbohydrates, sugary or fatty foods, and not exercising can all cause blood sugar spikes. But now you have help in managing blood sugar levels. Sweeties by Youngevity was designed to help support healthy blood sugar levels so you can power through your day. It's a synergistic blend of minerals, herbs, and nutrients that have been proven to support healthy blood sugar levels. Sweeties includes chromium, an essential trace mineral that's known for its contribution to healthy blood sugar levels and improved metabolism of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Cinnamon bark has been included for its naturally occurring antioxidants and support of a healthy heart. And we've even added gymnema. It's been used in Ayurveda for centuries to help promote healthy blood sugar. All the ingredients in Sweeties work together to give the best support available for blood sugar control. Sweeties, the blood sugar support supplement from Youngevity that helps control cravings and manage blood sugar levels through your day. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for rims, paints, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Tracklight, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires, cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Blessed love.
As you age, factors like health, weight, diet, and lifestyle can all impact your bones, joints, and general mobility. Even everyday exercise can lead to wear and tear on your body. Over time, you might start to experience stiffness or pain due to damaged joints or connective tissue. Ultimate Glucogel by Youngevity was created to help you limit the effects of wear on your joints. It delivers a daily dose of collagen-rich gelatin your body needs for joint elasticity and maintenance. Ultimate Glucogel contains a 1-to-1 ratio of gelatin and glucosamine sulfate, which is a key building block of your bone matrix, cartilage, ligaments, tendons, and connective tissue. Gelatin's unique blend of amino acids not only help with muscle and joint health, but also has been shown to provide additional benefits for the brain, skin, and hair. Ultimate Glucogel. Natural, optimal daily support for joint health. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
Yo, 99.5.
Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. My guest today is C. Alan Johnson. We're talking about the budget communication. Only 6 minutes left in the show. C. Alan, one of the reasons why former Prime Minister Hubert Minnis had to call an early election is, bluntly put, government ran out of money. He needed a new,
Headwinds, we call it.
He needed a new mandate, quick and fast, because they didn't have any more money. They were on the, we were on the edge of a cliff, and it was either call an early election, get a new mandate, or
Michael Alkides gave a hint of this. Go back. Right. Remember the clip you played? He gave a hint.
Right.
He said this is the most important budget of our lifetime.
See, that's what I want to touch on in the last couple of minutes of the show, because it's not like that cliff hanging danger we faced disappeared on September 21 during election. So, are you satisfied that what we've been seeing and hearing is enough to get us off the edge of that cliff, or are we still hanging on by our fingernails?
We were hanging maybe by 10 fingers, but we were over the cliff. We are now at one hand. And the point of that is this: you hear the government talk about digitization, digitalization, and digital transformation. Whenever the government refers to that, it is talking about the government itself. They've been trying that since 1968. We have not done it. But we need digitization, digitalization, and digital transformation of the economy. We need the economy to be digitized. We need the economy to adopt digitalization, and we need a culture, a mindset of digital transformation. No one is speaking to that, at least not in the House of Assembly. And we need a rapid economic growth strategy like yesterday. Other than that, this will be Brave Davis's no. This will be his last budget he execute, but it won't be the last budget he prepare, because the next budget is going to find us lacking, because the global economy is still contracting, constricting, whatever it is, becoming smaller, or not smaller, but the global economy is growing, but localized economies are not growing as part of that integration. Only those who have adopted those digitization policies. So we'll become further behind as the world move into this, I said, a hyper-connected, hyper-digital environment. In artificial intelligence and data environment, all of these things will move rapidly. Banking and financial services we depend on. Fintech is now dominating it. Tourism and our old model of so-called people cruising by us will change. This is why the cruise ship like RCIs and others are trying to double down and squeeze as much money as possible directly from their people on their ships, because there's no other means of getting money. They are, in spite of these cruise ship companies, they are facing still billions of dollars in debt. A lot of them may not even survive. So they're looking for other streams of revenue. That's why it's important for them to get us on the street corners, prostitution type form of our economic model. And so we need a transformation of our economy, and we need leaders now more than ever that understand not just the how, because you got it from Google. Google has made, oh my goodness, in 20 years, Google has made so much exports in the Bahamas. But we don't need cooks, we need chefs. We need people that don't not only knows the how, not only knows the what to do, but the how to do it more than ever. And what we need to do is, for those of us, I know I'm going to begin the process myself, beginning on the budget on the first, find small groups of people who's willing to understand the new economy and embrace it. But I can't save the country by myself. Collectively, we have to make a demand on the government. This is why I'm going to watch. I want people to watch the Grand Bahama Port Authority government argument. You must understand what is happening and make sure they bring forth a vision which will force an economic development plan and a shift for our economy. There will be no economic recovery. There is only one savior for the Bahamas economy, and that is Freeport, Grand Bahama by extension. So, to a minor noise in the marketplace, digitization of the Freeport economy, putting those things that Warren Miller spoke about and the Prime Minister has custody of by virtue of his global international platform. He's talking about these things. The Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, and Minister of Investments should be talking to people of getting them to docile here as the headquarters of this global warming climate change. We are not having that. Digitization of the economy, and that it has to happen, or we're in trouble. Or, just say this, we'll have most likely have a new Prime Minister in 2025.
Wow. Out of time. Out of time. Thank you so much, C. Allen. Always very insightful input. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for.
Thank you once again for the opportunity
to break this down today. That's my time, folks. Tomorrow is Friday, open line show where we look at the week that was. Boy, we got plenty to talk about, eh? Lord have mercy. I mean, anyhow, let me just leave it right there. Please don't miss tomorrow's show. It's going to be hot. We got lots to discuss. Until then, I'm Michelle Malcolm. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.
Global 99.5 FM reminds our listeners that